guys, Garfum here with a guide on how to start a new season, specifically Season 4. So in this video, I'll be talking about how to prepare for the new season, leveling up from 1 to 70 in the new season, and what you should do after you hit level 70. So first off, preparing for the new season. There's a few things you're going to want to do. You're going to want to figure out the build you're going to be running, the strategy to level up you're going to use, and the group you're going to be running with. So first off, the build you want to use. I highly recommend before the season starts, you know which class you're going to play and you know what build you're going to use. So for example, my Demon Hunter build here, I've taken notes down on which skills I will take at every level, and I've also added some other notes in here for what I'm going to do at certain levels that I'll explain later in leveling from 1 to 70. So I highly recommend writing down which skills you'll take at which level for your character, because a lot of time can be wasted after you level up a few times and then you're like, oh, I wonder which new skills I got, and then you sit there for about like 2-3 minutes, maybe even 5 to 10 minutes trying to figure out which skills you want. So I mean, even those few minutes after you start doing it, every couple of levels it starts adding up. So I highly recommend going through and just checking on the Diablo skill calculator which skills you'll take and what levels you can take them at, and then write them down in like a notepad or in a Word document, and just do it by level when you're going to take them. I've also included which button I will put them on, so RC is right click, LC is left click, and etc. So just so you can do it as fast as possible. Something to consider when picking the skills that you want to level with is that AoE in most cases will be the best. So you'll probably want to start getting your best AoE abilities as you're leveling up, and then maybe keep one single target ability for hard bosses or yellow packs. Another thing you're going to want to do when preparing for the next season is figuring out which group of people you're going to level up with. So whether it be friends, random people you met on the forums, or clan mates, you're gonna want to have 3 other people for a 4-person party to level up as fast as you possibly can. I'm sorry, solo players, but that's just how it is. If you're gonna level up solo, you can still follow these other tips that I'm gonna give, but I highly recommend going with a 4-person group. And in that group, it'll be nice to know which classes you're all going to have, so you can have 2 or 3 people focusing highly on AoE damage, and 1 person with more focus towards single target damage. Although everybody in the party should be dealing some sort of damage, whether it be single target or AoE. But everybody could bring AoE damage. It's up to you. I would recommend 2 or 3 doing AoE and 1 person for single target. And really good classes for AoE would be Monk, Wizard, and Demon Hunter. And lastly, as I mentioned, you'll want to pick a leveling strategy so you know what you want to do as soon as you start the game with when that new season hits. So this brings us into the leveling 1 to 70 process. There are 3 basic strategies that are pretty widely known, and I'll explain those 3, and I'll also explain sort of the hybrid strategy that I'm going to be using, which includes all those strategies kind of melted into one thing. So the first strategy is to run select bounties. The select bounties that you'll be running for in this strategy are cursed chest bounties, because they give you a lot of monsters that spawn, and they're easy monsters to kill, and you get an XP reward and the chest to open up at the end. So all that combined makes it very worth running for just those select bounties if that was the strategy you're going to go with. The chests that you would normally go for are the Cursed Chapel in Act 4, the Cursed Bellows in Act 1, Cursed Cellar in Act 1, Cursed Court in Act 1, Cursed Grove in Act 1, Cursed Hatchery in Act 1. Those are the normal ones that a lot of people commonly do. Most of them are in Act 1 since that act has the easiest mob types. And another one I added to the list that I personally like is the Cursed Peat in Act 5, because it spawns so many monsters and they're not that hard to kill. They're mostly boggets. I like that one because it's the easiest to get the conquest for killing over 300 monsters, and that attests to how many mobs that spawns from that one. Moving on to the next strategy, it's fairly straightforward. It's clearing Halls of Agony. So you'll go to Act 1 and teleport to Halls of Agony level 3. And you will just basically clear out that entire floor. And this is a good route to run just because there's so many mobs packed into that floor. The density is crazy high. And the mobs are fairly harmless. It's usually just a bunch of skeletons. So you just go through and you clear that floor over and over until you hit 70. The downside, while it is fast, it is extremely boring once repeated for a couple hours on end. And the last strategy is to just clear rifts. So in patch 2.3 and for season 4, Nephilim rift keys are no longer in the game. Any Nephilim rift keys you had turn into an item that can be sold for a bunch of money. So basically you can enter rifts for free now, and the upside to doing rifts instead of bounties or Halls of Agony is the legendary drop rate is doubled when you're inside of rifts, so that would be the upside to doing rifts. However, it's more random mob types, so they might not be as easy to kill as doing bounties or Halls of Agony. So now on to my hybrid strategy. And while I'm explaining this, I'll be going through some extra tips that I didn't include while explaining those other strategies. So I'm going to be going through my detailed notes here of what I'm going to be doing as I level up. And I'll also explain those extra tips that you can also take advantage of even if you want to do any other strategy or your own strategy, or if you're going to do the hybrid strategy. So first thing I'm going to do when I go in is look for a cursed chest bounty or an easy boss to kill. The reason I'm going to look for one of those two to complete first is the chest that is rewarded at the end will help you get your first blue or yellow items pretty quickly. Then for the next few levels up until level 12, just do cursed chests and Halls of Agony level 3, and remake the game and keep doing cursed chests and Halls of Agony level 3 until you hit 12. Now around level 12 is when I'm going to go back to town and look for the fence merchant, which sells rings and amulets. He starts selling them at around level 6 or 7 for rings and starts selling amulets around level 10. So if you're out in the field getting XP, don't bother going back at the exact level. Just wait until you and your group have finished doing a section and then go back. Just remember around between levels 10 and 12 to go pick up amulets and rings. Once you hit 12 or 13, switch over to campaign. The reason we're doing campaign is once you hit level 18, you're going to kill the Skeleton King for a guaranteed Leorc's Crown drop. And you want to wait until 18 to make sure that it drops with a socket in it, because you will want your entire group to be, once you're past 18, you will want your entire group to be wearing that helmet with a ruby in it the entire time. Now, it's up to you if you want to wear that level 18 or 20-ish, whatever level you are, until you're up to 70, or you can go back and do it again at level 30 or 40, and then again at 60 if you really wanted to. And then after you have killed the Skeleton King and gotten the Lyrics Crown. Once you find Ruby, obviously put it in there as soon as you get it and start wearing it. It's leveling 18 and up. Here's the hybrid part. So we're gonna start with rifts. So you'll open a rift and start going through it, and then once 2 or 3 of your party members get a huge power spike, teleport back to town and then do any of the cursed chest bounties and clear Halls of Agony level 3. And then once that's cleared, go back in and finish the rift and close it and reset the game. My logic behind starting a rift first is the double chance to find legendaries, so you'll go in and you'll start farming items, and once you hit a huge power spike, you'll go out and be able to easily clear the stuff that gives you a lot of XP. That way you get the advantages of doing bounties and Halls of Agony and the loot from doing rifts all in one. So you'll enter a rift, get a power spike, go out and do bounties and Halls of Agony, then finish the rift, close it, restart the game, and repeat that process until you hit level 70. Another thing to note along the way, once you hit level 45, you can go to your blacksmith and craft a level 60 weapon. And you can roll reduced level requirements up to 18 on certain weapons. When I was testing it out, the weapon I crafted could only get up to 10, so I'm not sure which weapons can roll 18, so you might want to wait until 50, or if somebody knows, you can leave a comment down below and tell me what's up with that. I'm not really sure what happened. And then you can do that again at level 60, craft a level 70 weapon, and get your level requirement reduced by 10. One last thing I want to mention before I start talking about what to do once you get to level 70 is the use of blood shards before you hit 70. So while you're leveling up, you'll probably hit your blood shard cap before you hit 70. So you'll want to be collecting up your blood shards and saving them to use near the higher levels, but I would say don't be afraid to use them at lower levels if you're missing a piece of gear that is very far behind compared to what level you are. So you could spend a blood shard to get that piece of gear caught up, because you're most likely going to hit 500 blood shards before you hit level 70, but you want to also make sure to save up at about 500 once you hit 70 to spend those at level 70 and try and get level 70 gear, because that's what you're going to use most of the season. So moving on to hitting level 70. So now you've hit level 70 and you're looking to get some gear. What are you going to want to do? Some people recommend doing rifts and starting doing greater rifts right away. I'm going to recommend something different. And I probably should have led with this earlier, but if you found any puzzle rings or bovine bardishes while you were farming up those levels, you should keep those while you're leveling, and then once you hit 70, go get Kanai's cube from Zoltankuhl in town, and go do the quest, get the cube, and then you can use the puzzle rings or the bovine bardishes in the cube. Just put one of those in the cube and then hit transmute, and it will open either the treasure rift or the cow rift. So you'll use either of those right away to get you some extra money that will help early on, or to get you a bunch of XP from the cow rift. But if you didn't find any of those while you were leveling up, still go get the cube, because what I'm going to recommend after you hit 70, get the cube, spend your blood shards to get all your blood shards to get level 70 gear, and then once you run out of blood shards, start doing bounties, because you're going to want the new materials to use in the cube, and you're going to want a lot of them. The reason I recommend getting the materials so early is because they're going to be used from early level 70, mid level 70, all the way up until late level 70. So early in your level 70, you're going to be using the recipe that changes rare items into legendary items, and that rerolls set pieces. So the rolling set pieces works like this. If you get 2 set pieces of the same kind, say you get 2 pairs of Natalia's boots, and you still need to find more pieces for the Natalia set. You put 1 pair of those boots into the cube with the materials, and you re-roll it, and it re-rolls it to another item of the Natalia set. That way you can finish your sets faster if you have those materials. Mid-game, you're going to want it for extracting legendary affixes and putting those into the cube. And late game, you're going to want it for re-rolling legendaries completely. So it'll take a legendary and re-roll it as if it were a completely new drop of the same item. So say you find a Crider Shot, you can re-roll it. It could become ancient, it could stay non-ancient, and it works the other way as well. If you put an ancient item in there, it will probably become non-ancient, so be careful with that. But the point is, you're going to be using those materials all season, and it's definitely going to help you early on in finishing that set. So I recommend starting those first. So this next part is a pretty advanced tip. You don't have to do it by any means, but if you're going to be going super hard in the paint and you want to be one of the top people, this is what the top people are going to do to finish the fastest. They're going to get in a group with at least 2 or more people of their same class, and they're going to farm rifts or bounties. I would be doing bounties myself. And they're going to start getting set pieces. They're going to give all the good set pieces for that class to one person. So if it's a demon hunter, all of their sets except for the shadow set are good for early game. So they'll start giving one demon hunter all the Natalias, all the Marauders, and all the Unhallowed Essence until they finish one of them. Once that person finishes one of them, you will be able to bump up the difficulty as high as you possibly can, and he'll carry the rest of the group and start helping them finish their sets. And just being able to bump up the difficulty and have one person carry you is so much faster than everybody slowly building up their sets. And another tip, if you choose to do this, is only do this with people you really trust, such as friends or clanmates, and make sure to give the pieces to the person that's going to be playing the most, so they'll pretty much hopefully be online while you're online. So if you have to go off before you can all finish your sets, they'll hopefully be online to carry you when you need it. So now you have your set and you have most of the gear you need, and your gear doesn't need to be perfect, but if you have very decent gear now that can do Grey Rift 40 or higher, you can start going for XP grinding. So this season you're going to want to form groups with 2 or 3 leech members, so that'll be at least 2 people wearing full leech gear, and then the 2 damage people, they could possibly wear a few pieces of leech gear, but they should mostly be focusing on damage. And then you'll be doing Greater Rift as high as you can do them, pretty much, because it's not as, since you can't recycle keys anymore, you're gonna have to do a normal rift every single time. So you have to balance between speed and getting the most use out of that Greater Rift key. So I recommend doing it as high as you can while it's still decently fast. So if it's still finishing within 7 to 10 minutes, I'd say that's fine, because you'll still be getting huge amounts of XP out of that token. And make sure when you're getting the Greater Rift tokens, you don't need the leech members while you're getting the tokens. You only need them in the Greater Rift, because that's the only place that the XP scales up that high. So guys, I've covered a lot of topics on how to get you started for the new season. Just make sure to prepare, and then getting leveling 1 to 70, and gearing up after you're 70, and then XP farming at 70. If I missed anything, guys, feel free to let me know in the comments. And thank you for watching such a long video. I just wanted to try and get you guys every single bit of information I could give you on starting the new season so you could get the best start you can. And if you liked it, I would really appreciate it if you could like the video. And if you want to see more stuff, make sure to subscribe. Have a nice day.